didn't prepare for it in any way at all. I read the script and I knew what I had to do. And once you get into a costume and you get the makeup on and the wig and then you change completely. I mean, you just fall right into it. And it was actually a very easy character to play. Just whoop-did-I and laugh and scream and, you know, it was just a ball to do. I thoroughly enjoyed playing the Joker.
On Wednesday, January 12, 1966, the world of television was changed forever. On that night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard on ABC, Batman made his primetime debut. The series was unlike anything else that had ever appeared on primetime television. It was to create one of the biggest fads this country would ever know.
And now, people of Gotham City, the moment you have all been waiting for.
The Joker added a new dimension to Romero's already colorful palette of characters.
I won! Batman came in second!
Cesar Romero brought an enormous amount of energy to the role. His piercing eyes, his laugh. I don't know how he did it, because he wasn't 22 when he did it.
Did have a great inner force, and as the Joker, he let that loose. You saw that wildness, that power, even though it was a silly power.
You know, when I get in an outfit like that, I'm not going to sit there going, I'm going to go, you fall right into it. Fall right into it. It's an easy thing to do.
You get launched. Right back to the pin where you belong.
Egabs, what sorcery is this? There was enough paralyzing gas in that cork to keep ordinary men unconscious for hours.
Emergency. Batman speaking. Warning all of you to brace yourselves for big news.
The biggest.
Tell them, Robin.
Holy superlatives, Batman! It's really exciting. Soon, very soon, Batman and I will be catapulting right out of your TV sets and onto your theater screens.
That's right, Robin. Our first full-length motion picture feature in color opens a whole new world of thrills. The big screen gives us more space on land, sea, and in the air to challenge the most cataclysmic collection of super criminals that ever plotted to take over the world.
Number one, the Riddler. Question: who's going to make the feathers fly and knock Batman and Robin out of the sky? Number two, the Joker. Have you heard this one? It'll kill you, Batman. Number three, the Penguin.
There are two eggs this wily bird is going to scramble, Batman and Robin.
Number four, the Catwoman.
Oh, you're going to see the perfect crime when I get Batman in my claws.
And that's just a sample of the exciting exploits ahead in our first feature motion picture.
Holy memoranda, folks. Make a note not to miss it.
Good thinking, Robin.
For millions of fans, he will always be remembered as that nefarious trickster, the Joker.
Caesar had incredible energy, and because he was a leading man, a Latin lover for years, and the mustache, his whole career, he thought, was based on the mustache, but it wasn't. Anyway, he would do the role of Joker only if he didn't have to shave his mustache. So we said, okay, slap on the white makeup, and toward the end of the day, when that mustache starts popping through, bristling a little, that was the quirky, funny thing, those things that people look at and wonder about and start to laugh at.
He was a baggy pant comedian. How do you know? And the other side, he was terribly dignified.
He was a gentleman's gentleman. He would kiss the hand. He would put his arm around you. He made you feel like a delicate little orchid.
While he lived the life of a carefree bachelor, Romero's devotion to his family always took center stage.
He held the family together, and he supported the family. He was just a tremendous guy. I think everybody who knew him loved him.
New York City, 1907, a bustling metropolis enjoying unprecedented prosperity brought on by the Industrial Revolution. It was here that Cesar Julio Romero Jr. was born into a life of privilege and affluence. His father, Cesar Sr., was a successful exporter of machinery to Cuba's sugar plantations. The hard-working businessman brought to his family a sense of old-world values.
My father was, I guess you might say, a typical Spaniard type. That is, in those days, the father ruled the roost. What he said went, or else there would be some dire consequences.
Cesar's mother, Maria, was the daughter of Jose Marti, the man known as the liberator of Cuba.
Jose Marti, who was the liberator of Cuba.
Jose Marti.
Yes. Could you tell us a little bit about him?
Well, he was my grandfather. He was my mother's father. He was born in Havana, Cuba, of Spanish parents. And at the age of 16, he was imprisoned by the Spaniards for his political writings at the age of 16. And he was put in the rock quarries in Havana, chopping rocks there. And we had the iron shackle that he wore around his leg. And my mother had all the letters that he had written to her as a child. He was killed in 1895 at the early part of the war, what we in this country call the Spanish-American War. But, of course, to the Cubans, it was the Cuban Revolution of Independence. And he was the mastermind. He was the one that got the final revolution going, and it was all done in New York City in my grandmother's house.
Through her father's encouragements, she had blossomed into one of the most promising musical talents in New York.
She was very musical. When she was 18 years old, she sang in Carnegie Hall, but she gave that up when she married.
The Romeros were one of the wealthiest Cuban families living in the United States, and made sure that the younger Cesar and his older sister Maria were exposed to the finer things in life.
He went to the opera with his grandmother and with his parents, and he loved theater. He was just a very cultured man of a privileged childhood.
Cesar was raised to be a well-behaved little gentleman, although nothing pleased the gregarious little gentleman more than kicking up his heels in the kitchen of his parents' estate.
I started dancing when I was 5 years old.
Really?
I learned how to dance with the cook in the kitchen. We had a Puerto Rican cook we had for years, and she used to love to dance. She used to dance me around the kitchen.
To his mother's delight, Cesar had inherited her poise and grace, as well as her musical ability.
The tremendous crowds which you see gathered outside the stock exchange are due to the greatest crash in the history of the New York Stock Exchange in market prices.
1929, the stock market crash sent America's economy into a tailspin. Cesar's father lost what was left of his savings and all hope of ever rebuilding the family's fortune.
My father didn't cope so well. He was in his 60s, early 60s, when everything went down the tube. And he had lost his life's work. For a while, they even were worried that he might try suicide.
Cesar was concerned about his father's well-being, and as the oldest son, he took on the responsibility of supporting his parents and 3 siblings.
The family lived on Cesar's income as a dancer and a performer. He took an allowance for himself and sent the rest down to his family.
My greatest achievement was to be able to take care of my family.
That's right. You
I
take care
took
of your mother.
care of my mother and my father and my sisters and my kid brother, and I put them through college. I had my mother and my father under my roof to the day they died.
Just a mile or two west of the Withers estate is Cesar Romero's brand new bachelor home, a 2-story, 7-room English farmhouse with a charmingly irregular roof line. In the rear, the house opens onto a covered porch and wide expanse of lawn. Here, Cesar keeps in trim by working out with a heavy barbell. As you can see, his property overlooks some mighty fine scenery. Along with the view, he has neighbors. Just across the way lives lovely Patricia Morrison. See her over there at the corner of the house waving to Cesar? You'll have to take our word for it. We're not going to lug this heavy camera way over there. Let her come over here. Well, we didn't expect her quite that soon, did we, Caesar? Anyway, we're glad Pat's here, and Caesar's doubly glad. It gives him an excuse to stop hefting those barbells. Oh, heck, Pat, you don't want to go out there. Let's go inside and sit down in a nice, soft armchair. Here's a living room to delight any bachelor's heart. Simple, comfortable furniture, cheerful but conservative colors, and a whopping big fireplace. Caesar wastes no time getting Pat into a backgammon game. It's one of his favorite pastimes, and he's a shark at it. Well, look who's here. Meet Tyrone Romero, a gift from Caesar's pal and neighbor, Tyrone Power. Like Ty, his namesake has a way with the ladies. Come, come, youngster, you're holding up the game, and Papa's raring to go. Maybe we'd better take the hint, too. So long. Hollywood's always quick to take up new games, and this pair have discovered a novel outdoor bowling set with 10 pins in the shape of penguins. The little fellows are looking down their rubber noses as if they didn't think much of Caesar Romero's and Patricia Morrison's bowling prowess. Well, we'll soon see whether they're right or not. They are. That was the prettiest miss we've ever seen, except Pat. Come on, we'll give you another chance. Chalk up a goose egg for Miss M. Caesar's being awfully patronizing. Guess he thinks he's pretty good. Well, he'll have to prove it, and we won't help him out with any process shots either. Looks as if he doesn't need any help from us. Very nice. We take back all those harsh words. Now, where's Pat going? Not mad, are you, Pat? Uh-oh, she's up to something with the sprinkler system, and that glint in her eye bodes no good for Caesar. Better get out of there, Butch. Too late. Now you'd better get going. The Cisco Kid is on the warpath. For further developments, see The Cisco Kid's Revenge, coming to your theater next week.
I'd like for you to meet Cesar Romero, because under all of this makeup as the Joker in the Batman movie, he is, of course, one of the handsomest actors and men in the world.
Well, you can easily tell that.
I can easily tell. I have a question. Why the green hair on Joker?
Oh, well, that's part of the Joker's makeup, you know.
Yeah, I never
green hair. I'm not a great student, actually, of the Batman comic strip, but I understand that the Joker got the green hair because in one of the first strips that he appeared in making his escape from Batman, he dove into a river that was full of a certain chemical that turned his hair green. So from then on, he's had green hair.
It's ridiculous. Do you like playing Joker?
Oh, sure.
It's
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a lot of fun doing the show, and we had a lot of fun making the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a part, you know, that you can do everything that you've always been told not to do as an actor. In other words, you can get as hammy as you like and go all out, and it's great fun. I enjoy it.
What are you doing? Are you doing some film now? Are you doing Broadway?
No, I've been doing some personal appearances up in Boston and in Oklahoma City, and now in about a week or so I'm going to do a television special with Red Skelton, and then I have to do a two-part A Man from U.N.C.L.E., and then another a Batman television show, and then in September I expect to be doing a picture at Paramount.
Very good.
So I'll be kind of busy.
I know it. You started out, I know, as a song and dance man. I remember I've seen you and Ann Southern cutting up. You're still good. Do you dance much?
No.
No. You're the best dancer in the world.
No, I'm getting too old.
Oh, you are not.
And it's too much hard work, honey.
No, you're not.
No, really, you know, the last time, you know how old you were when I first met you?
17.
You were 17, you
Yes.
see.
Yeah.
And I was, let me see.
18 or 19, I think.
Oh, yes, easily.
Easily. We were well chaperoned, but Caesar happened to be a friend of my sister, and so when I visited her, he had to take care of baby sister and take her every place in Hollywood.
Sure.
And you even rode things at Ocean Park, and I think we all got sick riding the
I
rides.
know, but it was a lot of fun.
I had a wonderful time.
I look back on those years with a lot of sort of nostalgia and whatever you want to call it, but they were fun.
I think so.
They were fun, and I miss them too.
Oh, I do too.
I miss seeing Elaine. I see her once in a blue moon when I go to New York, and of course she's had a very exciting life.
Yes.
Being married to John Steinbeck, traveling all over the world, it's been a wonderful thing for her.
I think probably you see her more often than I.
No, I don't, Jean, because I don't go to New York very
You're really
often.
working mainly then in
I
Hollywood
stay in
all the
California
time,
most of the time.
When you're doing your regular Batman for television, how often do you have to work? How often do you do a
Well,
series?
each show. See, I'm not in all the shows,
Right,
you
well,
know.
sure.
It's just, now last season I did 3 of the Batman shows, and then, of course, the motion picture. And now next month I'll be doing the first one for the new season. How many I'll do, I don't know. Probably about 3 or 4.
I wish you'd win sometime.
Oh, you can't win. The villain can't win. We always win, you know, on Wednesday night. At the end of the show, Wednesday night, we're winning. And then comes Thursday night, and we lose.
You had it. Had it. You don't care.
Settle now and intertwine to neatly wrap these guests of mine. And no more will they jeer and scoff or cut their circulation off. If they do not see the joke, pull the ropes and let them choke.
Well, of course, no one knows how long a character is going to last. A good character, that's a memorable character, has some contradiction in terms. So in thinking up a new character and a new villain, I thought a villain that had a sense of humor would be different and hopefully memorable. And then one that looked bizarre at the same time visually. Those were the main ingredients in the Joker. But it had certain elements that we can look back on now that we can identify that were part of the magical ingredient. Well, we did make it up as we went along because it was a new medium. It was a new genre of comics, a new way of telling a story. We were growing, we were kind of drawing for ourselves. We were kids ourselves, drawing what pleased us, what was entertaining for us. And we assumed that we were fairly representative of the community, maybe a little more eccentric than most. One of the other characters that I had a part in creating was Batman's butler, Alfred, played by Michael Caine in the movie Superbly. Also the first cover of Penguin, and that's when we modeled the visual of the character. I worked on Catwoman, among others. A good hero is as good as the villains. You know, heroes, to me, are inherently dull. They've got to win. But the villains are much more exciting. I was fortunate enough to be on staff at DC Comics for about a couple of years at the very beginning. And at that time, the original art, after it was shot, it was just drawn to be reproduced. It was a reproductive art. And as soon as the engraver shot the engraving, the originals were destroyed. I just couldn't bear to see some of the work that I admired destroyed. So I'd call the engraver and I said, don't destroy that drawing. Send it back when you come from the next job. And that's what I had to do every drawing that I wanted to save. I happened to mention that I think I have the first Joker sketch ever done that I did that night that I thought of creation. I hadn't thought of it as a piece of art because it wasn't a finished drawing, it was a sketch, character sketch for the Joker, but the first one. And that's now an exhibit, and I have to keep that in a vault because now they have become valuable.
Fingers said that he was inspired by an image in Steeplechase Park at Coney Island that resembled a Joker's head, which he sketched and later shared with future editorial director Carmine Infantino. Bill Finger was finally recognized as the co-creator of Batman.
Since it's the same, the villains, are you the one who told me about Conrad Veidt, the actor?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of interesting. You know, the
I've
Joker...
got it in my book.
Go on, let's take a look
Absolutely.
at that.
Conrad Veidt, here we go. Here's where I got the initial...
He was an old-time actor, wasn't he? Okay, let's just show that picture, because a lot of people may not know this.
All right, I had a ghost artist, which I'd like to refute now. His claim to fame is that he created the Joker, Jerry Robinson. And Jerry Robinson created the Joker playing card, which I'll let you look at in a moment. It's over here. I created, Bill Finger, my writer, came to me at the beginning with a picture of Conrad Veidt, who is the actor in a Victor Hugo movie called The Man Who Laughs by Victor Hugo. Yeah. And as you can all see, it's an exact replica of the comic I drew way back in 1939, 1940, and that was my creation of the Joker. Jerry Robinson, to his dying day, will say he created, and look, here's my answer to him. Had Jerry come to me first with the Joker playing card, the Joker would have looked like this and not like this. So apparently I was first and he came second.
Well, since this isn't a court of law, I might add one thing, though.
I didn't prove my case, right?
No,
Just
you didn't.
My
No, it's not that. But Jerry also is a very dear friend of mine and a fine artist.
Glad he's
as
a
you
friend
know,
of yours.
And we'll probably do an interview with
No
Jerry,
friend
too.
of yours is a friend of mine. That goes automatically, particularly Jerry Robinson.
But whoever created it, the point is...
No, I just proved my case that Bill Finger came to me with the photograph, not whoever. Bob Kane and Bill Finger created the Joker.
Now, what I mean is...
We have definite proof, conclusive proof in my book.
What I'm trying to say is...
You're cupping out, Stan. You're protecting Jerry now.
No, I'm not protecting anybody.
I don't mind that.
I'm protecting myself.
He's a nice guy despite himself.
No, the only thing is I thought it was very interesting to see that picture of Conrad Veidt and the way the Joker looks. I had never heard about that playing card or anything. That's new to me.
Well, Jerry said he created, and that was his claim, the playing card. In other words, had he came to me first with the playing card, the Joker, as you know him today, would look like the jester of the playing card. But he didn't. He came to me after the fact, and we used it as a Joker's calling card after I created with Bill Finger the picture of Conrad Veidt and The Man Who Laughs. I rest my case.
Once the producers got the green light from ABC, they were off to cast their Batman and Robin. They cast Adam West as Batman and Burt Ward as Robin. And then the fun began. They began with the villains. First one up was to be the Joker. Before Cesar Romero was cast in as the Joker, Jose Ferreira and then Gig Young were considered for the role. But when Cesar walked in with his perfect height and his portrayal of the Joker and that signature laugh, there was nothing left to say.
To your boss, Warden Crichton. He's done a remarkable job with the Joker.
Yes, he's brought modern penology a long way, Chief.
I never thought I'd see the day when the likes of him would be content to play baseball rather than plotting a prison break.
All right, Joker. This is the one. All right, baby. All right, Batter. Be a hitter this time. Be a hitter, Batter. Come on, babe. Pardon me. Pardon me. Let it hit. Batter.
When Cesar graduated in 1925, the Romero savings were starting to dwindle. To help support his family, he took a job at the First National Bank in Manhattan.
I went to collegiate school in New York.
Right.
Riverdale Country School first, and then collegiate school.
Uh-huh.
But my father had lost everything in the sugar market crash, so when I didn't go to college, but he got me a job at the National City Bank in Wall Street, and I hated it.
While he was working at the bank, he was not a very happy camper, and he wanted any way to get out of it. He had developed this real love and passion for dancing, and to him that was the most fun thing to do, so he loved to go to parties. And if he couldn't get invited on his own, he would crash these parties, and he became very adept at it. One of the people he met at these different parties he crashed and went to was Elizabeth Higgins, who wanted to have a dance team, which was quite the rage in the 20s. And because he was such a good dancer and they often partnered together, she suggested that they go into a dance profession together.
Higgins was a wealthy socialite and offered Romero $25 a week to quit his job at the bank and form a dance routine with her.
I was on that list, and I went to all the Deb parties in New York, you know. And I had a friend of mine, Elizabeth Higgins,
who was a beautiful dancer, and she wanted to dance professionally, and she had the approval of her family.
Right.
And she said to me one day, she said, let's you and I be a dance team. We can work in all those wonderful nightclubs that existed in New York in those days.
Right.
So I said, fine, you know, because dancing was fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to get together with Liz at night after I finished working at the bank.
Right.
And then one day she said, look, how much money are you making at the bank? Well, I was only making $17.50 a week. And I paid $7.50 for my room, and I lived on the other $10. You could do that in New York in those days, you know. This is back in 1926. And my family were living in New Jersey. They didn't know what I was up to. So I didn't want to say I'm only making $17.50 a week. So I said, I'm making $25 a week. And she said, well, if you quit your job, I'll pay your salary so we can work all day and rehearse all day and go out and give some auditions. I said, fine. So I quit my job, and I got a big raise in salary right off the bat.
Together, the pair eventually won a spot in the musical Lady Do.
The star of the show was a female impersonator known as the Creole Fashion Plate.
Okay.
Carl Norman.
Carol Norman.
Carol Norman. Carol Norman. He was a big star in those
Right,
days.
exactly. Things started looking up for the young actor when he was spotted by Broadway producer Brock Pemberton. Pemberton seen the talent, and he took a chance and asked the young actor to step in to the lead role of Count de Rubov in the nationwide tour of Strictly Dishonorable. The young actor garnished critical acclaim, and the future looked bright. The young bachelor went on to capture the heart of Marion Harris, star of stage and screen, a woman 10 years his senior.
Marion got him to grow a mustache, which became sort of his signature, and they had a hot and everything. And then she had an engagement to go to London, but he had a chance to do a show that was going to be going into New York, and he had these family responsibilities. He had to pay bills, and he needed the job, and she was so angry that he wouldn't go with her to London that broke them up.
He was disappointed about that, but he survived. As far as his true feelings, he didn't show them. He kept them to himself pretty well.
Romero's spirits picked up when he landed his first major Broadway role in the comedy Dinner at 8. His brilliant interpretation of an insanely jealous chauffeur brought him to the attention of an MGM talent scout who offered him a one-year contract.
He said, I'm a little worried about how it'll work out. I'll do my damnedest to stay there and be a movie actor.
By now, even Caesar's father has accepted his choice of profession, and the whole family was excited as the 27-year-old boarded a train to California. It's April 1934, and Cesar Romero arrives in glamorous Hollywood, California, and is quickly welcomed into the social scene. Caesar quickly went back to his old ways and was hitting the dance club scene all throughout Hollywood, and through those connections, he put himself exactly where he needed to be. And it certainly didn't hurt that Joan Crawford became one of his dearest friends for many, many years, and she introduced him to the Shakers and the Movers in Hollywood.
At all the parties at nighttime, the different clubs, he developed a network of people who referred him to the next person to help him with his career. And before his MGM contract was finished, he was offered a contract over at Universal Pictures.
Who gave your ancestors those lands? The crown. What a crown can give, a crown can take away.
But it is not the crown who takes them away, but my Lord Cardinal. Every day you gather more power to yourself. Soon you will have the whole of France in the palm of your hand for your own selfish ends.
Siraj deposed, you will be king of all northern India. How many troops has he?
60,000 and 20,000 horses.
So he proved in 2 pictures to Zanuck he could play a Frenchman, he could play someone from India, and he had the zest and that exotic look that made him quite believable in both parts. And that cemented a friendship with Darryl Zanuck.
In this rare photo, we see pictured on the left Cesar Romero. Next to him is dear friend Tyrone Power, and in front of Tyrone Power is the famous director Howard Hawks, and next to him is Darryl Zanuck, playing cricket in Caesar's backyard.
He was unlike anyone else in pictures. I don't know anybody like him. He had a very regal look. He was very photogenic. His coloring was wonderful.
He had the dark, polished hair and that whole sleazebag kind of look. I found it most enchanting because it was dangerous and yet safe, and I think women love that.
Huh?
Allah himself would laugh, my child.
Then you want to fight, and I thought you were good. You had such nice eyes. Please, Mr. Khan, please don't have any war. Please don't.
Between your people and mine, little one, there can be only war.
His role as an Afghan rebel leader, which was both villainous and sympathetic, did a lot for the picture and did a lot for his career. And Zanuck, who already was very fond of him, hired him on at Fox. One of the things that you notice about Romero once he started working at Fox is there's a levity about his performance. He was guaranteed a contract. He knew the studio boss liked him. He really developed and flowered and blossomed.
Cesar Romero was very busy. He was escorting everyone.
He took great care of us. He was a good conversationalist. And wherever we went, of course, there was always dancing. And it was just great fun to be with him.
George Lloyd Murphy was an American dancer, actor, and politician. Murphy was a song and dance leading man in many big-budget Hollywood musicals from the 1930s to 1952. He was the president of the Screen Actors Guild from 1944 to 1946 and was awarded the Honorary Academy Award in 1951. Murphy served from 1965 to 1971 as U.S. Senator from California, the first notable U.S. actor to make a successful transition to elected official in California, predating Ronald Reagan and Arnold Schwarzenegger. He is the only United States Senator represented by a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So one might ask, what does George Lloyd Murphy have to do with Cesar Romero and his nickname, Butch?
George Murphy was giving people nicknames, like the big fat guy he called Slim, and the bald guy he called Curly. And then he looked at Caesar and he said, "Hey, how you doing, Butch?" And everybody just laughed because he was such a patent leather, elegant lover. To call him Butch was like a riot, and it stuck.
But little did Romero know what was to come with his next role. He would forever change what it means to be a villain and become an iconic figure to millions of people around the world.
When they started doing the series, it became such a big hit. The studio decided to do 2 or 3 things to bolster it up. They decided not to play it straight, but to make it very campy.
Ringside table, Batman?
Just looking, thanks. I'll stand at the bar. I shouldn't wish to attract attention.
And to use a lot of guest stars.
And the dubious villains were Burgess Meredith as the Penguin, Frank Gorshin as the Riddler, Julie Newmar as Catwoman, and the 58-year-old Cesar Romero as the Joker.
Oh, how delicious it is! The Joker outwits Batman and steals the fabulous jewel collection right out from under his nose! Oh, my playful, pilfering pals, how delicious it is!
We hate to sound a sour note, Joker.
But it's time for us to make our own collection. Destroy them!
I was fascinated because he had a lot of lines, and his role was very physical.
Assemble now and intertwine to neatly wrap these guests of mine. And no more will they jeer and scoff or cut their circulation off. If they do not see the joke, put in the ropes and let them choke.
And big, the laugh, everything, the movement. And between setups, Cesar would go sit in his canvas-back chair and immediately go to sleep. He came in thoroughly prepared, but he'd go to sleep, and an assistant would walk up and say, "Cesar, we're ready now." Instantly awake, and he was there. And I watched that, and I used it as kind of a lesson that maybe I could do the same kind of thing. I never could.
On March 24th of 1991, Caesar mourned the loss of his sister and best friend, Maria, who died at the age of 85. The two have spent the last 2 decades living together, and they depended on each other for companionship and for support.
He really surprised us all by, handling it as well as he did, I guess. Because, yeah, they were lifetime partners. They weren't a married couple, but they may as well have been.
As long as he was working, he was alive. When he was in the hospital, he was growing a beard. Because he said, maybe I'll get a part as an old man. He's still working the angles here. How can I be more castable?
As he was recuperating, complications arose from an undetected blood clot. New Year's Day 1994, Cesar Butch Romero died of a heart attack. He was 86 years old.
There was nothing anybody could do. It was terrible shock. We had talked to him and he was feeling fine. And then all of a sudden we learned that he had died.
I know he's at peace, and I know he's with his family, and God will take care of him because he was a good man.
To me, he's Captain of Castile, on that horse looking so gorgeous. He was a thorough gentleman, and everybody loved being with him.
He was just so handsome, and he had an aura about him, a true star gentleman aura. Magnificent.
You couldn't see him come up the walk and not smile and know you were going to have a good time. A loyal, fun friend.
God, the industry is different.
Like what? Tell me.
Well, I mean, the studios don't, they don't control.
System. They don't have a system.
Of course not. The studio, most of the production in Hollywood today is television. It's not motion pictures. Motion pictures are done all over the country, all over the world.
Right. I see.
Hollywood is no longer the motion picture capital of the world. That's wonderful. We were all under contract to studios, and everybody knew each other from all the different studios.
Right.
It was like a big family.
Uh-huh.
And there was a very definite motion picture colony in those days.
Right.
And within that motion picture colony was a very elegant society. At all the social functions in this town, you'd see every big star would be there. Mary Pickford, Charlie Chaplin, Douglas Fairbanks. I mean, everybody.
Right.
Everybody. There was a social thing in Hollywood. And Mary was the queen, and Marion Davies, the wonderful parties she used to give. Hearst would come in and have the studio turn the 2 tennis courts out of the beach into anything she wanted. Yes. A Spanish town, a circus. I mean, those days are gone forever. But I'm so glad that I had all those years, because it's so very different now. There's you don't have that feeling of community together.
Right. Caesar, you're not a young man,
No,
you're in your what, 80s?
I'm 85.
And he looks marvelous.
80, Annie.
I'll be 86 in 4 months.
80?
I don't know who he is behind that mask, but we need him, and we need him now. He is known as Bruce Wayne by day, wealthy socialite. But incognito in dress, he finds crime by night. Yeah, it's Batman and Robin, Boy Wonder at his side. Hey now, Riddler, Penguin, Joker, better go and hide. We need the Batman.
Careful, Robin, it's quite a drama.
Criminals are superstitious, cowardly lot, so by disguise must be able to strike terror into their hearts. Now as the bat signal sweeps across the midnight sky,
I don't know who he is behind that mask of his, but I do know when we need him. And we need him
in Gotham
now.
City, it'll find the Batman's
Come to headquarters
eye.
right away.
Within a 50-mile radius.
There's a crime wave going on, but
Almost
not for very
midnight.
long, 'cause
Time
the
to check the access again.
Batman's gonna teach
I'll
you
do it.
right from wrong.
You better let me do it this time. If you see or hear anything, let me know via the vacuum communicator.
You just see that strange car.
No, why?
It was shaped like a bat. So when you see the Batmobile quickly passing by, you know they've heard the bat phone and the commissioner's cry.
What is it, Robin? Answer me.
Yeah, the dynamic duos out free crime doesn't pay, and from the Batcave our heroes keep evil at bay. We need the Batman.
Is that new and green old friend, Batman? Not even a hello, how are you?